Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the opposing counsel has indeed made a persuasive case. But once we look past the words and instead look at the probabilities of the so-called weaknesses of his case all happening at once, we see that it wasn't very probable at all. Now, my opponent states that there were 4 main weaknesses in his case. The first one was that there were no fingerprints on the knife. The second one was that the knife was closed. The third, that there was no blood on the knife. And the fourth, that Mr. Ramirez stabbed Officer Levy with his right hand when he was generally left-handed. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it would be within the realms of probability for 1 or maybe 2 of these strange circumstances to happen in one case. But for all 4 of them to happen in one case? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client isn't wanting the police department and Officer Waldman to pay for his own mistakes. Is it a crime to be drinking? Is it a crime to have 4 or 5 scotch and waters with friends and then have a couple of beers in the space of 5.5 hours? Is it wrong to get angry at a police car or a normal car that's driving very slowly in front of you? Is it wrong to have a race at 2 a.m. in the morning? No, it's not wrong. Now, my client has said that he was wrong to stop and start shouting abuse at the ununiformed policeman who was sitting in an unmarked police car. But just because it was unwise, does that necessarily mean that it was wrong? And just because he did that give any justification for Officer Levy to have hit him? And just because my client fought back, just because Mr. Ramirez fought back when the officers started hitting him, does that give Officer Waldman any right to shoot my client, Mr. Ramirez? Is it right that Mr. Ramirez should be going through the rest of his life not being able to work properly and have his physical health impaired because he simply shouted abuse at someone who was driving slow? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client isn't asking for someone else to pay for his own mistake. He is asking that the police department and Officer Waldman pay just compensation for ruining his working life and impairing his physical health. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.